Hi guys, good to see you again today. I hope you're having an awesome week so far. So today is kind of exciting because we get to really jump into our new unit, Unit 3, about ecosystems. Hopefully you got a little introduction of it yesterday in your lesson. But today we're going to talk specifically about the living and non-living components or groups of the ecosystem. Taking a look at the rest of your week in science, yesterday you had your introduction lesson about ecosystems. Today we're going to talk about living and non-living. You will have a quick check today with this lesson. And then tomorrow we're going to jump into a couple specific ecosystems. The terrestrial ecosystem is tomorrow, and you'll have a quick check on that. So that's your week ahead, finishing up in science this week. One more thing I want to say before we get started is don't forget about taking notes. This is a great way to learn all this new stuff that we're learning about this semester, to remember it, to have a place to write it all down and use that sheet or that Google Doc if you choose to type it as a study guide to help you get ready for the test at the end of the unit. It will also help you as you prepare for the milestones and reviewing everything that you've learned in science so far. So please, please, please choose. If you want to type your answers, click the typable one. If you want to print it, you can print it out at home and you can handwrite it on there. So definitely be taking notes, guys. That will help you also to get ready for middle school. So what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is an community of organisms living together and interacting with each other in their physical environment. So you think about this ecosystem here and we see some living things like the eagle and the fox and the rabbit and the shark and the bear. They're all living and interacting with the physical environment around them of the non-living things like the mountain. So we're going to talk about the different components and different parts of an ecosystem. The two main components or parts or groups are biotic and abiotic. Those are just fancy words for living and non-living. So we've got the biotic or living things in an ecosystem, animals, humans, plants, and then we've got the abiotic pieces or components of an ecosystem, the non-living things, sunlight, the air that we're breathing, the dirt on the ground. Those things are not alive, so they're abiotic. Let's look at some more specifics. If you look at the biotic examples, those are all things that are living. We've got the humans, the plants, bacteria, insects, fungus, trees, birds, any kind of plants or animals will fall into this category. Then on the other side, you've got the abiotic living, non-living animals, or excuse me, non-living things, such as air, rocks, minerals, the temperature it is outside, the soil, the water. Those things are all abiotic or non-living. Now, another word that we need to become familiar with is population. So when we say the word population, we're talking about all the members of one species that live in the same ecosystem. So for example, where I live up in North Georgia, and we have tons of deer. I see deer pretty much every day because they're everywhere. So we could say we have a very large population of deer. But where I live, we don't really have many armadillos. I might see one or two armadillo a year. So we have a very small population of armadillos. Take a look at this picture over to the side. You see a population of ducks, a population of fish, a population of mosquitoes. You can also be talking about different types of plants. There's some bushes in there, tall grasses, lily pads. But I don't see a population of penguins or polar bears because those don't go in this ecosystem. So when we're talking about a population, it is talking about one specific species that you will see in that ecosystem or not see in that ecosystem. This kind of shows you the different levels that we have in ecosystems. So let's start off with this individual. We have just this one little fish. We'll call him Nemo because we all know Nemo, right? The fish Nemo. So that's Nemo. He is one individual fish. Then you come up here to the whole population. That is everybody in his species. They're all there. So everybody in this specific species is in this population. All right? Then we go up to the next bigger, broader category of community. Community is all the living things. So everything that is alive inside an ecosystem is the community. So the community is living things interacting together. The plants, the animals, the bacteria, all of that kind of stuff. And then we get it to the biggest category in this chart called the ecosystem. This is all the living and non-living. That's why this big boulder or rock is included in here now. And the water is included in here because those are non-living things that are interacting with all the living things that are in this ecosystem. So we've got one individual, population that is all the same species, community that is all the living things, and then ecosystem, which is all the living and non-living things in a specific area. All right, so I want to focus now on the three main groups of living pieces or living parts or components of a community. So remember, a community is all the living things inside a ecosystem. So the three main groups are producers, consumers, and decomposers. So let's talk about producers for a second. Producers are biotic factors, living things, that use the sun's energy to make food, such as plants. Many of you have heard the word photosynthesis before. They take the sun and they use it to make their own food. So plants, algae, they use that to produce usable energy to put back into the ecosystem in the form of oxygen, or if we eat them, the nutrients they provide and those kind of things. So producers are basically going to be all of your plants and algae and those kind of things. Next we have consumers. That's you and me. Consumers are biotic factors, living things, that obtain energy by eating producers, so by eating your vegetables and your fruits and the plants, and other consumers, so by eating other animals, other consumers. So we have like herbivores, which only eat the producers, they only eat vegetables and that kind of thing. We have omnivores who are going to eat producers and consumers. They're going to eat kind of all of the foods, right? And then we have carnivores who only eat meat, like snakes or lions or eagles. So these are all consumers. They get their energy from eating producers and other consumers. And then finally, we have the decomposers. The decomposers are the biotic factors, living things, that obtain energy. This is where they get their energy from. They get it from waste, when other animals and things go to the bathroom, and dead materials, and recycle nutrients back into the system. So here we're talking about things like worms and mushrooms and insects and bacteria. They eat the waste from other animals or other living things, or the dead animals or dead plants and things, and that's where they get their energy from. So producers, those are like plants, those get their energy from the sun. Consumers, like you and me, get energy from eating other producers or consumers. And then decomposers get their energy by eating waste and dead stuff. All right, everybody, that should do it for today. That should help you to be very successful on your quick check today. Make sure you take your notes. Make sure you go through each of the pages in this lesson and read carefully, and go get 100 on that quick check. Make today amazing, everybody. Bye.